Could Straybon be hiding some form of chaos mutation? Alright, so I came across this post, and this is definitely something pretty interesting, and ultimately, I had never heard about this theory. I've never heard about this. I'm not too sure if you guys heard about this, but I think this was kind of something that could be fun to cover because a nice little fan theory can go a far way, especially in this game where there's always, attention to detail and something you can expand when it comes to the lore. So perhaps maybe somebody is cooking here. So let's see what they're saying here. I remember seeing a joke post about Straybon being an Alpha Legion spy because he talks so cold and strategically. But I mean, he also doesn't have a fully helmet-less style. Have a fully helmet-less style like the others? He still covers his mouth? Could it be he is trying to hide a chaos mutation? Could he be an Alpha Legion spy? Interesting. Okay. A Straybon with a chaos mutation would be kind of interesting. Ultimately, I think this is just a fan theory. I kind of want to see what the commenters say about this because I think they could definitely expand upon this theory a bit. But considering what, happened in the campaign with Titus and, obviously the chaplain Leandros, it would be kind of funny if, after you see Titus talking to Leandros, you see like Straybon kind of follow up behind them. That would be kind of interesting. But yeah, ultimately, I can't imagine, the devs thought about any, background lore or even a background secret about any of the operation classes. However, I do think, just a little bit of imagination can go a far way with how interesting this could be. So yeah, let's read into the comments. Let's see if anyone has any good answers to this theory, even though, again, this is definitely something that's more of a fan theory rather than something that devs intended. Honestly though, this helmetless Straybon head actually looks kind of sick though. I actually think he probably looks the best without his helmet. But also, yeah, the armor around his helmet looks really cool too. This legit looks like a Terminator collar. But okay, yeah, let's go into the comments and see if anyone has any good, expanding ideas with this theory. Where did the Straybon is a chaos spy theory come from? All right, so I think this is definitely a good jumping off point, obviously, because to be honest, I definitely need a little bit of education on this. I saw the post and I just considered, hey, you know what? They're probably cooking on something here. Let's dig into the post to see if there's anything interesting. But hey, yeah, let's start off from ground one, right? How did this theory come about? It's really stiff and mechanical in personality compared to most other Ultramarines. He talks in Gherkin syntax. He acts more like an Iron Hand than anything. This deviance from the normal warrior/scholar persona that most blueberries have, I think, is the foundation of the meme. Interesting. Dang. So, are you telling me Iron Hands, for whatever reason, would have more chaos spies? That's kind of an interesting way to start this. Personally, I think it's a reference to two things. Primaris Marines have had issues with emotional suppression/blunting when they are newly induced and finished with their final implementation surgeries. It takes them a while to grow a personality. Newly inducted and finished with their final implementation surgeries. Okay, just wanted to correct that. Heavy intercessor squad roles usually served by the youngest Marines in the company/squad. The Codex Astartes dictates this so that they can observe their seniors employing Codex tactics from a distance. Learn from their senior brothers leading from the front while providing fire support. I believe this is supported by the fact Straybon doesn't have a service stud. He's less than 50 years in service. Then again, Vespius is the only Ops Marine that has a service stud. So either these are really young Marines or this was an oversight. Oh, this is kind of interesting. I mean, as far as how old or how young the Op Marines, it's never occurred to me. But hey, ultimately, this is definitely good attention to detail. But yeah, I'm a little disappointed that it doesn't go too far, considering that most of the other Marines are losing out on the service stud as well. Edit, looks like the service studs became optional as of 2002. According to the Insignum Astartes, well before the Primus Marines were introduced, so service studs are no longer a good indicator of time in service. Okay, so what we have here as far as the Chaos Spy theory is mostly just because he's stiff and mechanical. He has a unique helmetless head, I guess. The deviance from normal warrior scholar persona. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I honestly don't think he deviates from that too much. You can clearly see, like, Straybon's actually concerned with what the teammates are focusing on, and, you know, he's just making sure that everyone is on the same page. And obviously he's very mission oriented and he doesn't really talk a lot. I think, yeah, sometimes some of the things he says can definitely raise into question, like sometimes yeah, Vespius or some other you know, Space Marine will be like, "Hey, Straybon, that's a big gun. Don't you like killing Xenos?" And he's just gonna be like, "Yes." So, like, a lot of times it's like that. So I don't think that means he's a Chaos Spy, man. I need a little bit more than that. I mean, I do like his helmetless cosmetic, though. I actually kind of, you know, I'm glad I seen that. I might even use it, who knows. But Primus Marines have an issue with emotional suppression blunting when they are newly inducted. Okay, so they're trying, okay, I kind of understand that. So Straybon could essentially be considered a new Space Marine purely from the fact that he is less emotional? Does that track, guys? Definitely let me know in the comments if any of this tracks. It's because all Grievous adjacent units only come with half-mast heads and full helmets, no fully bare heads by default. I reckon it's a design choice, since masks help better sell the look of heavy specialist infantry, like aggressors, eradicators, or intercessors. Okay, there it is. This is the explanation for the helmet. And I have to admit, I do think it's a very cool helmetless cosmetic. But yeah, I do think this is something that, you know, people probably glossed over, because it's just like, yeah, as soon as you're able to customize your Space Marine, you're probably going to put on the helmet for most of the classes. Now, for the heavy, I definitely didn't take time to understand the details here, but I am also glad that we kind of jumped into, like, this is definitely a fan theory, but I think there's plenty of lore here that's pretty interesting, and I think this also kind of, you know, credit to the devs to actually take time for the base of the Space Marines to make sense with, you know, obviously the class that they're using. Heavy intercessors, and they had a heavy intercessor type, you know, base head for Straybon, which is kind of cool that they actually added the heavy bolt rifle. But yeah, ultimately, I still think, now we debunked the ranking, basically the stud ranking, and then this is, a debunk for the head, I guess? I mean, ultimately, there's probably still like one or two details that could make the head look like, I don't know, for whatever reason he has some sort of chaos implant, or however the fan theory is, you know, however the fan theory is structured. But ultimately, I do think this describes why the devs went with the head that they did, and it's pretty cool. It's a fun theory, and I know I don't need to get this profoundly dweeby about it, but I think there's a tendency to see the different chapters as very one-note personality-wise, all the way down to the individual Marine. It varies from series to series and author to author, but there's canonically plenty of diversity and personality within chapters, even if they have an overall vibe. All right, well, there we go. There's the personality debunk. So pretty much everything within this theory has been debunked. There are lore examples of jokester Black Templars. Oh, is that real? Okay, let's continue. Cruel, ignoble blood angels, arrogant salamanders, no way. I think it's a symptom of the difficulty of writing stories that fundamentally exist to sell us little plastic soldiers. You want cohesive, striking faction identities for the tabletop that leads itself to really boring fiction. I'm looking at you, Matt, somebody. Straybon can just be, and I don't know who he is, so I can't I can't sign off on what this guy's saying. Straybon can just be an uncharismatic, cold-blooded ultramarine. Plus, we all know the real imposter is Decimus, who's obviously a world eater. That's just a fact. Oh, great. Oh, great. Okay, so we went from debunking one fan theory and then went into another. Interesting. Well, ultimately, this is actually a pretty good lore dump on, you know, some heavy intercessor and, you know, some of the details that have been used for the heavy. Also, some nice lore details about the personality of Space Marines, which is kind of funny. Sometimes I see posts about, like, oh, who's your favorite personality out of the bunch? And I don't really know if that's like a very interesting subject. It's probably not. But I feel like this is a nice mix of it, you know? So this could potentially make it more interesting, just the fact that we, A, learn lore, and then B, also, you know, give some attention to detail to try to, you know, to solidify a fan theory, ultimately debunking it, learning more details about it, which is kind of cool. But yeah, ultimately, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this. Do you think Decimus is obviously a world eater? Because, hey, maybe we'll cover that one if there's enough details about it, but ultimately, I think Decimus is just a very aggressive Space Marine who's a great Space Marine to have on the team. A world eater, though, you guys gotta like kind of key me in on this. If Decimus is a world eater, is that something Leandros would be like interested in? But yeah, regardless, let me know how you guys feel about this, and thanks for watching.